Ian, is it time for Will It Bread?
We just started.
It's not time for Will It Bread.
Not yet.
It's time for Will It Skeptical.
Will It Skeptic. That's
Yes.
Oh, you should. I
Will
should
It
have named it
Skeptic.
that. Welcome everybody. Welcome to playing the music and showing the topics. Wednesday, April 9th of 2025. Today we're going to talk about coal, beautiful coal, clean coal. Gravity is magnetic.
Yeah, of course it is.
Don't mix fruits,
Oh, you want an
apparently.
explosion?
Yeah, Mercury rising. Apparently, a Will It bread that I only heard about at 9 p.m. last night when Jay was like, I'm making bread. And I was scrambling to try to figure out if I should make bread. And then TikToks.
So you guys got your stuff coordinated together.
Yeah,
Ian,
we're so
I
coordinated.
had
I'm
this
so
entire
sorry.
imaginary confirmation to you.
Oh,
that
yeah.
And then I'm like, going through, like, I'm in bed and I'm going through my text. I'm like, fuck, I didn't tell Ian. I got to do it right now. Ah,
Oh, you got not the sword, not the
I
sword.
made the bread.
That's illegal in UK.
It is, but we're not in the UK.
We're not in the UK, America, freedom.
That's
for
why.
now.
That's why the UK no longer rules the world.
That's
by the
true.
way.
You know what? Yeah, the sun is set on that
Empire.
That empire.
Yeah, we're next.
But I have a present, not really a present, but something to show off.
Yeah.
Should we show it off?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes.
Boodle-doo.
Absolutely.
Oh shit!
You bastard.
Woo!
Oh, and there's
Nice.
Check it out.
Here.
Jay, hold it on. Yeah, so the TikTok can see it too. And hold on, let me switch to for TikTok. There's TikTok. So yeah, so we were working on a little rocket, SGU rocket.
Great. It came
man.
out.
It's
Pretty
totally
good, right?
Great.
So, and then you can see the disc that it fits in. I might make the pad a little bit deeper so it sits a little bit easier.
It's
but
fine.
Jay,
It's
man.
good.
deeper. All right. Okay.
All right, so let me explain to everyone what we're looking at here. So we've been using like a 1950s style sci-fi rocket as as like a mascot for the SGU. It's in all of our branding and everything.
But,
And then
If you haven't noticed.
we've been talking a lot lately about we've been wanting to 3D print something to sell to people that was definitely like in the SGU Ken, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bottom line is, I paid a professional to make this, the 3D drawing.
Made in the USA. That's other than the plastic.
Yeah.
That is
Other than the
not.
raw material.
The raw materials were not probably.
Actually, the guy that did this work was absolutely not in the United States.
Yeah. So. But I printed it in the USA. So how about that?
So, Ian, how much of a fill is this?
That's 40%. The disc is only 20%. I had to make some alterations on the STL file, honestly, because there was an open void in there, so I had to fill it up. But that's fine. But
that was just part of the. That was part of an image that.
That's the zipper.
the zipper.
So what I did was, I mean, I found basically I found an image of this rocket basically, and I made some modifications to it. One, I added in these 3 windows. I made these bigger, and I added the SGU, right? So we have the SGU on here. We have the 3 windows.
Yeah, I know. We got to get the tariff on PLA. Hopefully there won't be a tariff. I do have a bunch, but we probably should order more before the world ends.
Do you guys like it? I mean, do you feel like this is the finished version?
We could do it.
I like it. Now, we have somebody lined up who is a very skilled figure painter. So I'm excited to see the painted version of it.
Yeah, if we do a painted or like semi-painted or whatever. It's pretty good, shiny in terms of the metal.
You can even you can get that
style.
sort of like aged bronze spray from like Home Depot. I've used them to make plastic weapons into like steampunk weapons. You know what I mean? And it works really well. You put like a black coat on there, then you put whatever metallic thing you want. You could do 2 slightly different colors for different parts of it.
Yeah, I mean, I would want it. I just would want there to be weathering. You know what I mean? Like to put a little like.
But hand painting it'd be a different level.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do.
I'd add rusty patches.
Well, Ian, this came out really good, man.
It's pretty good, yeah. So that is on mine, but I'm thinking I might print the rockets on mine and then print the discs on our treadmill one.
Yep.
Because I can print like 1,000 of them. But we could also make different discs. You know, if people want Jay's face on a disc, we could do that.
Who would want that?
Who wouldn't want that? How dare you?
This could be an attachment point. It could be
No,
like
it's
an
definitely
elevator for bringing stuff up.
Well, I think that you might be onto it because there used to be, in the original image of this, but this was a model somebody made literally in the 50s. There was a little ladder that came down to let people, so scale, a person is like, 1/8 of an inch.
I mean, aerodynamically, it's probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
It's also the weight would not be evenly distributed.
Well, let's ask what the audience thinks. I mean, I kind of like it. I would probably move these windows here now that I see it. Like the SGU here and the windows here. I think that would be fine. I mean, I told the designer that I wanted them to be opposite of each other.
So there's other ideas also. We could put, my father was like, we should drill a hole in the bottom, put explosives in it. I was like, that's not going to be safe,
dude.
Father. Okay. We don't let him near explosives. And then maybe an incense holder. We drill a hole in the top or leave a vacuum, little incense rocket holder.
So guys,
or pencil
out
holder,
in the audience, you see this style right here?
Which one?
Tell us in the chat, this bump here. Tell us in the chat whether or not you like it or you think it should be removed from the rocket.
Y'all are adorbs.
It's like a spine to the rocket.
Well, I think it's because it's supposed to be, I kind of took it like it was like the ship would fly like this and that would be like the top thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to be aerodynamic in space.
Wow, I really like it. I really
it
like
needs
it
to
a
be
lot.
balanced, though.
Well, that's fair. Okay, fine. Well, all the people sit on the bottom. It's heavy. I don't know. That doesn't make sense.
I'd get rid of it.
So, Ian, a couple of things.
I agree with making the windows symmetrical in between the fins.
Yeah.
Yeah, it means that each in between has a thing.
Something.
I would, Ian, I would go to
slightly
60%
odd.
fill, make it a little bit heavier.
Heavier. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean that's all based on, that's time and then also the amount of material that's used.
It's a good weight though. It's
it's not terrible, but it is. Yeah,
it feels substantial.
It's obviously
a little
not
bit heavier
metal.
would be nice. Could you just like
fill it?
Fill it with
That's what people tend to do. They like leave a void and then you fill it with something
Put
that's
pennies
molten
or something.
Something that doesn't necessarily shake, but like hardens, like an
Yeah,
epoxy,
an epoxy.
like an epoxy
could
that
do
just
it.
like.
I don't know if
It
that's
stands up pretty well on its own.
Yeah, the feet. I only actually I didn't increase the feet. They were fine.
Well, the shininess of that PLA
Avoid
is
making it too
fantastic.
phallic. I mean,
It's not too phallic.
Rockets are by their nature, unfortunately.
It is cigar
fairly
shaped. I mean,
phallic.
that's I think what I would. It's not. Yeah, it's not.
Although
it's not the. What's the rocket that's like basically a penis?
Yes,
You know the.
Yeah, was it Amazon? What's his face?
Yeah,
Bezos.
Bezos.
Bezos is
What's
that
that called? What's that ship called?
It's,
Blue Origin.
Blue Origin. Yeah, that's a penis.
That was
That's a
ridiculous.
This is a cigar.
This one, if your phallus does look like that, maybe see a doctor.
See a doctor. See a urologist.
There's something happening.
Ian, how long did it take to print?
That took like 6 or 7 hours, and then the disc actually took like 5.5 hours. Or something like
Jeez.
So
that.
someone asked about
Takes
the
a while.
stock market.
Oh,
I have
I
to
have
answer that
a
question.
picture.
You have
Go
a picture of the stock market?
What?
So it starting at the end of 2024, I pulled as much money out of the stock market as I could.
Mm-hmm.
Not only for my own investments, but my mother's, who I'm managing. And she's obviously, living off of her.
There we go.
retirement.
You see that thing? Hey, yo, look at that. It's green. Green is good, right?
It's green.
It's a little
What
more
is?
green.
What are we looking at?
This is FinViz. It's a financial visualization website that shows like at moment to moment if like the stocks are increasing or decreasing. And so this has been very popular in the memosphere or the finance world. They've been showing, like red all over. Of course, this is not like, this is moment to moment. So every
Yeah.
update, it's like plus 2.67% from the previous moment. So it's not necessarily indicative of like long-term, performance.
Yeah.
But a
If
lot
you
of people
did it-
look at this, post it, and it's all red, and they're like, ah!
Can you change the time frame, like over the course of a day, of a week, a month?
Yeah, so this is a day performance. We could do like a week performance.
There you go. There you go. I knew if you did that.
This is a month performance, 6 months. So that might give you some indication of
Right,
where it
yeah.
is.
6
Negative
months doesn't
20.
look that
That's NVIDIA, if you any GPU people
Well, that's
have.
because of the Chinese thing.
Like the AI program that they came out with, Deep Impact? No, Deep Seek,
DeepSeek?
whatever. Yeah. That, I mean, I got a 4080 before this
Yeah.
happened, so
So now the question
knows?
is, when do I put my money back in
Sure.
the stock market?
Of course.
Right, because you got to get out when it's obviously when it's high, and then
Oh, we got
Get
a
it
lot
back
lower
in.
to go, Steve.
Well,
You got-
that's
I know that's
the-
I'm not rushing, but the thing is, if it bounces like most of the way back, then I lose
Yeah.
all the advantage of having pulled it out.
that's the great wealth transfer of 2025. And
Yeah.
we'll see. I made the mistake of checking my 401k. Yeah, don't do
Yeah.
that.
No,
Yeah,
don't do
sorry.
it.
If you-
I
yeah,
haven't even
if-
done it.
Sorry,
I
no.
won't do
It's
it.
too late to do anything basically.
unfortunately.
If you're like don't need to access your retirement
Let it
account for
ride.
10 years or more, don't even bother. Don't
What
look
about-
at it.
What about 6 years?
67 years.
6 years you might be okay.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
Yeah,
But
people
for the
retiring
record, I
now
told
is
you guys
pretty
to do
bad.
this too back.
it's become evident. It's
Uh-oh.
become evident that
Yes.
Evident.
that they actually don't have a real plan.
they have no plan.
Right? They don't actually have like a contingency, and if this happens, and we're going to do this. Like this is like
It's
about
chaos.
as willy nilly as you can.
If you
get.
break it, they will come, right?
It's move fast and break things. It's just
Right.
do it. Like there's no thought, there's no calculus, there's no analysis, there's no strategy, there's nothing. It's just they're just Trump's whims, and they're like yes,
Yes,
you know,
master.
yes, master.
Is it true?
No,
Is it
seriously,
true
it's,
that Elon
he's all
Musk,
surrounded by yes men now.
Isn't Musk having like a freaking war with some other dude? In the
Yes, Pete
and-
Navarro. who
Yeah.
What,
is,
what are they fighting about?
Economics, basically whether or not tariffs are good or not. I actually have a video of that. Like Elon posted a clip from Milton Friedman. Whatever you think of Milton Friedman, but he is like kind of the precursor in a way to a lot of what's happening currently in terms of the economic system. But it's an interesting video of the global supply chain. So maybe we can watch that real quick.
There's not a single person in the world who could make this pencil. Remarkable statement? Not at all. The wood from which it's made, for all I know, comes from a tree that was cut down in the state of Washington. To cut down that tree, it took a saw. To make the saw, it took steel. To make the steel, it took iron ore. This black center, we call it lead, but it's really graphite, compressed graphite. I'm not sure where it comes from, but I think it comes from some mines in South America. This red top up here, the eraser, bit of rubber, probably comes from Malaya, where the rubber tree isn't even native. It was imported from South America by some businessmen with the help of the British government. This brass ferrule, I haven't the slightest idea where it came from, or the yellow paint, or the paint that made the black lines, or the glue that holds it together. Literally thousands of people cooperated to make this pencil. People who don't speak the same language, who practice different religions, who might hate one another if they ever met. When you go down to the store and buy this pencil, you are in effect trading a few minutes of your time for a few seconds of the time of all those thousands of people. What brought them together and induced them to cooperate to make this pencil? There was no commissar sending out orders from some central office. It was a magic of the price system, the impersonal operation of prices that brought them together and got them to cooperate to make this pencil so that you could have it for a trifling sum.
All right, so that gives you the general gist.
That's the gist.
You know, like I'll just point out, Ian Milestrong is a particularly devious loser, and Elon is in his own way. But they post this as their fight against the tariffs. Clearly, there's internal division amongst the Republicans.
Who is
about
against the tariffs?
Elon.
Okay.
Obviously, it hurts his business.
Everyone
You know what
who
I mean?
doesn't directly work for Donald Trump, basically.
Yeah, basically.
I haven't heard a single economist say that this is anything other than batshit crazy.
Yeah, but Steve, someone on Facebook said
Some guy on
that
Facebook.
there's economists out there who are praising all that. So
Who?
right? So
Who doesn't work directly
very
for Trump?
politely, I asked that person, could you please link me to who those economists were and where you read that? And guess what the person did? They didn't give me the link.
They didn't.
Wow.
which is
didn't show you the
exactly my experience on Facebook for the last 8 years.
Yeah. Well,
No, it's true.
you should've known.
I agree. Like they're repeating the rumor mill, the propaganda machine that they're exposed to, and not even asking a basic question: is this true? What is the source of this information? But the other thing is, like, obviously economics is complicated, and there are certainly economists who have said you could make an argument for certain specific targeted tariffs
course,
in
that's what they're
specific
for.
situations that to address certain inequities in global trade, whatever. Fine. That's not what's happening. And just because that's true, it doesn't bear any resemblance to what's happening now. I'm sure you guys have all seen this. This has been on John Oliver and other places where that I've seen it, where they showed somebody reverse engineered the formula they
Oh
used.
my God, I know it's
And
ridiculous.
it's ridiculous. It bears no resemblance to anything real in the world. It's like, it's just Trump's just obsession with trade deficits. And not all trade, just manufactured goods. Like, doesn't count services or intellectual property or anything like that. So in other words, if like again, I read a good article about this not too long ago, where like if you look at the iPhone, like the IP is American, right? And most of the profit from selling an iPhone goes to American companies, but it's assembled in China or wherever, and a lot of the pieces come from all over the place, but they're getting paid pennies to assemble it, but we're getting paid lots of money for the IP, but Trump counts that as a trade deficit, right? Because that's only the manufacturing part counts. It makes absolutely no economic sense. Makes
that's a good point.
But like the formula was like imports minus exports over imports or something, like over the total trade, or it's like something really simplistic. And then they tried to hide the fact that was their formula by couching it in this ridiculous made-up formula where they just substituted and threw an unnecessary mathematical.
I saw a mathematician go through the formula, and there's a lot of shit that cancels itself out in the formula. So when you in the end, it's still the same thing.
It's the same thing. They deliberately tried to hide it with a bullshit formula. They really do think the public is stupid, and granted, there's something to support that, but it's insulting. It is insulting.
So somebody brought up that they were talking about Navarro. You might have heard about this. There's Ron Vera, which is an anagram of Navarro, and it's something that he's embroiled in currently, where he's used this pseudonym of a supposed expert in a lot of his writings to defend a lot of these kind of policies and tariffs, not specifically Trump's tariffs, but as a whimsical device that he says, and pen name. So he's a bit of a bullshitter, I guess you could say, at the least. But he does defend Trump's tariffs pretty aggressively. So he's like the main guy that is defending as an economist.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty
so,
transparent why
whatever.
Trump is doing it. Like, he's basically bragging about it. He wants these countries to bend the knee.
Yeah.
He wants them to come begging to him, and it's not working out in his favor.
Yeah, it's another loyalty test. Like legal firms did it. Some of the media did it. Yeah, that's what he wants. That the countries just to vow their allegiance to him.
I also read a disturbing
Colleges are
article.
bending the knee.
I don't know if it's true, because it's I read more than I can possibly verify. You know what I mean? And just
Totally
just the nature of the beast. But it said that China is also threatening to forego all IP considerations. You know, they keep doing this, fine. We'll take all your iPhone technology, give it to their iPhone company, and absorb whatever they want and sell it as their own. And there's literally nothing that the U.S. can do. We've already hit them with tariffs. I mean, it's like what else could we freaking do?
Well, let's not ask the commander-in-chief what he thinks we should do, unfortunately, with the $1 trillion military budget that I think he's proposing. Anyway, well, actually, I do know what he's going to do. You know what he's going to do? Coal. Beautiful coal. You guys ready for the reindustrialization of the coal industry? So apparently yesterday signed an executive order about bringing back coal to West Virginia.
Why?
After he's long championed coal, apparently. You know, I call it beautiful, clean coal. It's funny when you read a sentence and I can hear his voice. I told my people never use the word coal unless you put beautiful, clean before it.
Yeah,
God.
meaning what? Because it's not clean, and you're a moron.
Well, yeah. I mean, come on. He
There's
says
no such
pound for
thing as
pound,
clean coal.
Coal is the single most reliable, durable, secure, and powerful form of energy. It's cheap, incredibly efficient, high density, and it's almost indestructible. You could drop a bomb on it, whatever. Bullshit. Yeah, I mean, what do you guys think of that whole endeavor?
I mean, I think when Trump draws a line somewhere in his head, he does back it up. You know what I mean? Like
internally.
I mean, he will
consistent, you
do
mean?
what he says.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been saying that for a long time. The people who are saying he's not going to really do that, he will do what he says he's going to do.
Yeah.
He's fairly consistent about that.
Yeah.
I mean, why would we want to go back to a 16th century technology?
I just
people
heard a
get black
report that
lung
renewables are just about to beat coal. Like we're right on that cusp now. And then it's going to, the thing that coal gives us that renewables can't right now is immediate power, right? You burn coal and you can get water boiling very quickly, and you have that as an energy source immediately.
Well, coal, that's not really true. Coal-fired power plants take time to get up. They're not instant on. You have to it takes some time to ramp up.
But how long is that ramp up time?
It's hours.
Yeah,
which is a long time. It's base power. It is not really reactive power.
Gas
Gas is way more. Natural
Yeah.
gas is way more.
But it's
faster.
way faster than renewables, because if it's at night and there's no sun,
It depends.
no wind.
It depends. Not if you have battery backup. 'Cause
Well, we
battery.
don't have that yet. We're not there.
I
yet.
know, but you can't say that categorically. You just
I am
say
saying
right
it
now.
categorically because right now we don't have.
You didn't
that
say right now
infrastructure.
until after I challenged you.
categories.
But renewables can have that if you have battery backup. But also like wind, if you have a distributed enough network, you can also have that.
Yeah.
But better than both of them, I admit, is nuclear. Nuclear, especially the newer designs like the salt,
But
powered.
Steve, aren't you afraid of radiation?
No, but
Somebody said-
they can be used as backup. They can be very rapidly on, better than coal.
Yeah.
And coal releases more radiation into the
Yeah.
environment than nuclear
It does.
reactors do.
How
It's like,
about
hello,
that?
Think
How
about
about
that for
that?
a second.
Half-Bit
Think
says
about
buckets
that.
of lava over. Is that a Minecraft?
Oh my
reference?
God.
Maybe
I
buckets of
feel
lava.
like it sounds Minecrafty. Well, yeah, we'll work on that.
Whoever said that, I love it.
He wants to go back to like the 1940s, 1950s. And you're listening to his people. It's like, all these fired federal workers are going to be screwing in little tiny screws on iPhones. How is this good for Americans? How is this what you think that's what people really think that they wanted? They want menial, low-paying manufacturing jobs because they're somehow manly or something?
No, I mean
it's just ridiculous.
Everything on its face is completely broken. I mean, if we were to instantaneously be able to bring manufacturing back into the United States, it would triple the prices of things. Because nobody is going to work for what people in China are working for, or what other country, And I'm not, look, I'm not making a comment on that. Like I don't agree with child labor, and I think people should earn a fair wage whatever country they live in, wherever they are. But the bottom line is the economics don't work in any way you look at it. There is no benefit. He's trashed the United States reputation. I mean, he's gotten rid of every single trade partner that we have.
Under Biden, say what you will, but we had pretty successfully isolated China economically, and we had Korea on board and Japan on board, and and a lot of our allies, and everyone was really harshing on China because they were exporting all of their economic problems to a lot of other countries. And now China's the golden child and we're out. It was like, this is the worst self-inflicted wound in American history.
Trump's approval is still pretty high because
it's less than 50%. It was never high. It's lower than pretty much any other president at this point in his presidency. It's just high relative to Trump.
He has a high floor, but
he's got a high floor, a low ceiling. But for presidents it's low. For Trump, it's now went below 50%.
But wait,
it will go down further when the real pain starts kicking in.
Yeah, we haven't hit.
Like I'll give you an example. I know somebody who is married to a veteran.
Yeah.
And and these people were Trump supporters. No longer because of what Trump did. I mean, it died in the wool here. And they did a 180 because it impacted them personally on a significant level. And it's also insulting, right? Imagine being a veteran and watching what Trump is doing to all the vets. I mean, what was this? I read a statistic, 40% of government employees, Steve, are veterans.
Yeah, something like that. It's a lot.
Huge number.
It's a huge number.
It's a huge number. So we're gonna start to see this slow fade out of people sticking with him because as soon as it affects them, they go buy a car. Grocery prices are going to go up. I mean, wait until vegetable, anything that's picked off of a plant. Wait until those prices are affected.
Imagine if he's in any way successful in deporting even a small percentage of the people he wants to deport.
Yeah.
Those are the people who are picking our food.
That's right.
Or in construction. And again, not to say that we should have open borders, but you have to take the situation as it is. We can tighten the borders. We can fix that problem, but also, be smart and be, strategic about how we're dealing with the situation. Just like mass deporting people, first of all, they're doing it in a very reckless way. They're doing it in a cruel way, in an incompetent way. And to whatever extent they're successful, it's going to be a net harm to our economy. It's going to also be another inflationary pressure.
Yep. Olivia, to answer your question, she asked, do regular Americans already see price increases for daily shopping?
Well, the inflation's high.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yes, not at a dramatic level where people are going to really start to freak out. But that's coming. I mean, it is what it is. Like, we know it. As I'm driving around, I am now old enough where I look at the price of gas at different gas stations. I can't believe I'm doing it, but I do it. I can't help it. I'm genetically getting old, and my mind switches over to AM radio and fucking gas prices. So anyway, I'm seeing a slow, steady increase in gas prices in our region. We've been in the $2.80, $2.80, $2.90 range, and I saw $3.15.
Gas prices are complicated. It's hard to know what to make of that. But to be honest,
I agree. But everything else. I mean, everybody is taking a big deep breath and trying to catch some pause here. But the tariffs are popping now. They're happening. So we'll see. I mean, I know that I said it last week or a couple weeks ago that that my hot sauce is made in Mexico and it went up 30-40%. And it really pissed me off. It pissed me off. It's like, come on, this is just a freaking. It's going to be really bad.
What's radio?
But at least
that's true. The
corporate America thinks that if we don't have the money that we could eat cereal for dinner. At least we got cereal for dinner. Well, thank God.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch, though, is pretty.
Ooh, yeah, baby, that's some good stuff right there.
I will never buy another Kellogg's product as long as I live. After what that a-hole said.
Yeah. What do you guys think? I have a question. What do you guys think is a product that you wouldn't imagine would be hit really hard by the tariffs based on a random, sourcing from around the world?
Something that we wouldn't expect.
You wouldn't expect, but will be very hard. Even if it's not something you personally know, but what would you think would be something that you would imagine? Just a guess. Estimate.
Oranges.
You know
Cotton balls.
Cotton balls? That's a good one.
I mean, I just think everyday simple products
produced?
like a stainless steel mixing bowl.
Mm-hmm.
We don't make those in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Very rarely. There may be one or two companies that I'm aware of that might make those products, but the vast majority of that stuff, I mean, it's all overseas. It's gonna be the regular stuff. It's gonna be the products that we buy all the time. I mean,
T-shirts. I mean, anything cloth related.
Yeah, like a lot of the textiles come from India. You know, it's like it's again, we are still. The United States has over the last 50 years, like we have, become a huge part of a global economy where we're getting tons of stuff shipped in from other countries. Yeah, we export a good amount of stuff. I'd like to make a comment, and then we should change the topic.
Yeah. Let's do that.
So, Trump is claiming that the United States is this big injured party we're being taken advantage of.
Bullshit.
It's not only bullshit. It's so wrong. It's embarrassing. Like.
He doesn't understand anything.
The U.S. dollar
historically
is the common currency in the United States. It is the go-to currency
in the world.
In the world.
The U.S. dollar is the reserve currency for the world.
The world uses.
We have arranged this international system that Trump is complaining about, and yes, it does benefit lots of other countries, but it benefits us more than everybody else by any measure in terms of productivity, buying power, whatever. Americans are better off compared to other countries now than we were 20 years ago or 50 years ago.
Yeah.
We have benefited more than any other country.
Exactly. That's
He's
the whole
dismantling a system that is to our advantage.
That's right.
And for the advantage of our geopolitical rivals.
I mean, most of the banks in the world are U.S.-based banks. It's look, and again, I'm not like rah-rah for the United States. I'm not. It's just it is the situation that we find ourselves in that Trump has basically cut off his hands. This thing is going to get super ugly, and I do think that there's going to be massive backlash in the United States. We had an unbelievable protest, last week.
Yeah.
I mean, the turnout was
all
massive,
across the country.
all across the country,
Not just DC.
and shit hasn't even gone off the rails yet.
Yeah, but did you hear though
Certain
that
stuff.
they were being paid $1 million each to protest?
Yeah. That's right.
Where's my $1 million? I'm trying to
$1
get
million.
How do you
Yes.
get in contact with Soros? What does he have a phone number? I'm trying to get that. Anyway,
It is amazing. Whatever they accuse the other side of, they're
Right.
guilty of.
It's
themselves.
projection.
Yes.
That's
every accusation
That's
is a admission
classic.
or whatever.
You have Elon Musk handing out $1 million checks for people to vote, which is like borderline illegal. And so, of course, they accuse with zero evidence. They accuse the other side of it.
All right, let's move on.
Anyway,
to
we're
happier
moving on.
Times,
So happier times.
things.
Here's a happy thing: floods. Are you ready for
Okay.
some
Yeah.
floods in America? So here's a unique idea to combat floods.
Pre-flooding?
Is to pre-flood.
How do you
Where we are standing is about 3 feet deep.
This restaurant owner deliberately filled his riverfront business with fresh water to keep dirty floodwaters out amid widespread flooding in Kentucky.
Okay, taking you to the front door here, you can see the stark difference between the inside water and the outside water. And I might even be able to see my foot down here.
Andrew Masterson, co-owner of Captain's Quarters Riverside Grill near Louisville, said that the fresh water will keep floodwaters up to 5 or 6 feet out until the pressure is too much and outside water begins to flow in. Masterson and his staff removed all the kitchen appliances and electronic panels in the restaurant before his crew filled up the interior using sinks, faucets, and a well water pump.
I think we're going to be okay with five more feet. Isn't going to be as devastating as 8 more feet, which is one of the predictions. So hope for the best.
Interesting idea.
It's a pretty cool idea. I mean, seems like it's sort of work. I mean, you
Good for him,
are
man.
flooding, obviously.
if you're going to get water damage anyway, you might
Right.
as well make it
well,
clean water.
Clean water.
there is a difference between clean water, what are they called, gray water and brown water. And because I remember when this studio flooded, that we're in right now, my house flooded because I had a broken water pipe on my second floor. We flooded the first floor and the basement. The crew that was doing the assessment and planning on the fix, it all depended on whether they considered that to be gray water or clean water. Because if it's dirty water, then everything's got to go. Like if it's clean water, they just dry it out and it's fine.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Wow. What an interesting idea.
Yeah, so gray water is defined as wastewater without fecal contamination.
Yeah,
whereas
without
black water would be fecal.
Yeah. So it was gray. The flooding here was technically gray. It wasn't clean, but it wasn't.
Black
It wasn't
water-
poopy water.
Black water is feculent.
Speculant.
But anyway, so I mean, that's an interesting little flood
The guy's
trick.
quick on his feet. That was,
I
Yeah.
think
pretty smart.
removing
must have
all of
taken
the
a while.
equipment was probably the big thing.
Right.
Getting
Yeah,
out
that
of
was
the thing.
that was the huge.
There
one.
is going to be a moderate water exchange, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like.
Well,
it's-
he said as the higher it gets, the more the pressure's going to cause the mixing of the water.
Yeah.
Um,
All right, let's do some happy things, maybe.
Yes, I know it's
we
very
could do
happy.
some happy things. Let's see what this guy says.
How did the people who created the first clock know what time it was? What if it was 5 o'clock when they created the clock, but they put it as 4 o'clock? Isn't that concerning?
This guy, that's his whole shtick.
Yeah, it's his whole
Isn't
shtick.
that concerning?
how did they know what time
When
it
I
was?
snap my fingers.
Love it.
Yes,
Right,
you are
yeah.
no longer gay.
I'm not gay.
All right,
Exactly.
let's watch this guy. He has one more because
The
I've
word
seen it.
short is shorter than the word shorter.
That guy's that the dumbfounded guy is actually more important than the guy saying the thing. 'Cause he's-
True.
Yeah, that's
he
it's a
can
critical
fa-
component.
He conveys the emotional response.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
My favorite one of those is why is the word phonetically not spelled phonetically?
That's a good one. So Jay, you sent me this. This is an interesting little trick. Let me see if I can get it. Whoops.
This is a
kinda gave it
wonderful
away.
optical
Oh, I know. I've
illusion.
seen that before.
You should open it up.
Oh,
You
yeah.
got to wait it out.
Those dots aren't actually moving.
No, they're moving,
Yeah, that
but
would be,
they're
that would
all
freak you
moving in
out.
straight lines.
So,
Oh,
yeah,
really?
It
Yes.
looks like an arc, but
Wow.
it'll give it away in a second.
If you traced it
there
out,
you go. Boom, boom, boom.
It's
Gives
just
the
that they're on different
illusion.
planes.
Right.
And it-
Oh, each
Or
dot is
angle.
moving in a straight line.
yes. But man, that looks like a freaking arc. See, this is a wonderful thing for humility, right? This shows you.
I cannot not see it as an arc.
I know.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
no, you can look at the very last ball, and just watch it go in straight lines, right?
No, it
Straight,
still looks like an arc.
straight.
It kind of does still look like
You
it.
can
It's not
kinda-
fully parabolic, but like, you know what I mean.
you can. Oh yeah, you can almost see it with the last
Yeah,
one.
Yeah.
almost.
The middle ones, forget about it.
Yeah.
Those ones, yeah.
Forget
Holy
about
crap,
it.
man.
That's effective. That's a
a very
great
good one.
optical illusion.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So the humility angle here is that what we perceive, what we think we're seeing, what we think we know, all that, like you need to have humility in order to operate correctly in this
That's the
world.
neuropsychological humility.
Exactly, Steve.
So we got some other things we could go into. We could talk about this
look at this guy.
This fucking
This
guy.
fucking guy. I think I have those glasses, actually. I got them at Walmart. They're pretty cool.
The thing is, like, you see somebody like that, you're like, this is a Poe, right?
That's
this is,
the thing.
this is a
it Poe or
character.
no?
Let's
This
see
is a
it. We'll
character.
see.
I don't know if I have the Poe or no overlay. I don't know. I got to bring that back. Anyway, yeah, let's see what he says, thinks.
This is the
Alright,
type
y'all,
of
I got a
question
good one
people
for you.
aren't allowed to ask.
Riddle me this. Riddle me this. If Earth is a third rock from the sun,
Great
that means
show.
Mercury and Venus are
Oops, sorry. What happened?
in between us and the sun. Why don't we have Mercury and Venus solar eclipses? Why the fuck not? Not even a sliver? Like, it never blocks out any of the sun? Those two planets which are in between us and the sun? Make that make sense. It doesn't make sense.
All right.
Like,
Well,
that's
they-
an unanswerable question.
Let's
It's
start-
unanswerable, Bob. It's
I doubt
unanswerable.
this fucking goes viral because this is the type of question that they don't want fucking people asking, right?
Let's
Like,
start with
riddle
this.
me this shit.
When you
Who's got a good
start
answer?
a question with riddle me this, you are
Jay,
disqualified
right?
out of the game.
Jay, but not only that, I noticed that he says it 3 times. Riddle me this. That completely, to me, that makes me think that's not a Poe, and this guy is just
Oh,
like
I don't know.
totally.
Well, he really was. I
clueless.
mean, if he's not a Poe, I mean, my God, that guy had. All
It's either
the-
he's an idiot or a genius, right?
but I've seen pictures of Mercury and Venus.
They do block out the
they-
sun.
They transit the sun. Yeah, I've seen the pictures.
Yeah,
They're
I've
super
seen
tiny.
the transit. We saw
Yeah.
Venus transit.
It's
You
a
could
s-
see it.
What the
Yeah, but
hell,
I
man?
mean,
And it does block out the sun. It blocks it out in proportion to its apparent relative size.
do we really
right?
even have to get into the explanation? It's just like, okay, no, you're
In fact,
wrong.
that's how we know exoplanets exist through the transit method. We're measuring very tiny dips in the amount of light coming from the star, from their parent star.
That's what they want you to believe.
That's what they want you to.
It's an
Well, this-
unanswerable question.
This ties into the next one, which is also interesting.
Same
because it is
guy?
another transit one.
This guy,
But
man.
this is
This fucking
is
guy.
another level of transit.
This
denial.
segment, Ian, is called "This, fucking guy."
All
No.
right. All right, we'll make I'll make an overlay for this fucking guy. All right, let's see what this.
TFG, man.
Is Venus just smaller and closer and in front of the moon right here? Or is the moon transparent and we're seeing through it to Venus? This
Expand that.
photograph was taken last week. It is Venus through the moon. Through the moon.
I just want to point out, if you didn't hear it in the background, let me just go back.
It was
for a
taken
second.
last
it bigger.
week. It is Venus through the moon.
Did y'all hear that?
Through the moon. It reminds us of certain patterns on flags we've seen before. I figured everyone would be covering this, so I didn't bother. But I haven't seen anyone covering it yet. But either Venus is little bitty and in front of the moon, or the moon is just transparent and we're seeing Venus through the moon, which we should
False
never be able to
dichotomy
see
much?
Venus
False
anyway.
dichotomy,
It's
yeah.
orbiting closer to the sun, supposedly. And anytime it's night, we're on the side facing away from the sun, right? In this model. So Venus is orbiting closer. It'll always be behind the ball of Earth. So that's at least 2 impossibilities in one photo. How many more impossibilities can you think about when it comes to the heliocentric model of Earth? Is it...
Yeah, that last point. Yeah, it's closer to the sun. That only means that it's always going to be, from our point of view, very close to the sun. So if you want to see Venus, you look at it at sunset or sunrise. That's when you're going to visibly see it. Dude,
Mercury and Venus are only seen either right before or right after sunset.
But he's saying though that it's in a position in the sky where the moon should be in
that's
front.
Yeah, but that's not fucking Venus. How about that? He's like, either this Venus is in
Right.
front of the moon, or the moon is transparent, or that's not Venus.
Right.
Which it clearly isn't. You know, either that's the photo is fake, or if it's a real photo, I've read online some people were speculating that
some reflection.
Starlink?
No, it's the ISS passing in front of the moon.
Yeah, makes sense.
It is something
Oh,
that's
man,
between
dude.
us and the moon.
But it's round.
Yeah.
It's a dot.
It's a dot.
it's just a blob of light.
Of course, no video of it. Of course, because it's a little bit harder to edit around. I feel
There's no
dumber
video.
having
There's no
watched it
reference.
so
It's just a picture. I mean,
At least the guy had a great neck tattoo. You know,
It's true. I will say that I don't know if you guys picked up on it, but twice in this video, his fire or smoke alarm beeped.
Really?
So, let
Last
me go
week,
back to it.
it is
Right here.
Venus through the moon.
Yeah, I heard that.
Through the moon.
Yep. We
That
had we
gets
had that
me.
on our show.
I know, that's true. But that always gets me whenever I see a video and it beeps. I'm like, can you change the battery first before you make this flat Earth video, please?
Well, you know,
Dingbat.
Ian, you and I do production work, and we pick up on stuff like that. Most
Yeah.
people, you know, the guy probably is completely unaware.
I know, but it's
But
it's
this
still
rocket, though, I dig this a lot. I love it. It's exactly what I wanted. How many inches did it come out, Ian?
I actually don't know. I didn't measure.
be
Where's
8
the-
inches.
where's the
I think
ruler?
this is 7.5,
Yeah, okay.
not 8.
Including the base.
Including the base. You always include the. All right. Sorry. Let me see. I don't know if they
You don't
have
have
a
to
ruler
answer it
here.
now.
Okay. I'll figure it out.
I love it.
Although when I first imported it, it was like 80 inches, so I had to
80?
scale. Yeah, the STL was like weird. But regardless, yeah, we'll figure out. I might have to shrink it so that it actually, if we print it on the treadmill printer, but it's pretty good right there. All right, let's move on. There's some more crazy stuff. Let's see. What other topics do
on
we have?
TikTok, I'm shocked.
Don't mix fruits. Or we could do gravity is magnetic. Which one do you want
Yeah,
to
let's do gravity.
Gravity? All right, let's go on to gravity, and then we'll come back. So this is Dr. Whipping You. He's on
Whipping
PB. He's on PBD, if people are familiar with that. Patrick Bet David. Very popular podcast of credulous.
Is he related
people.
to Frank smacking you?
Yes. Sure, that's his first cousin. I know. Bob, please. Can you smacking him? Your brother? There you go. Thank you. Such an old Italian
gravity.
man joke. There we go.
That's called gravity. Is not fundamental force. That's number one. Gravity is an emergent property of a particle system of magnetic force. So we can say gravity is a second effect of electromagnetic body.
All right.
So what do you think, Bob?
So, yeah, the short answer is no. The long answer is no. Yeah, this is not supported. Now I'm going by this quote. For me, the biggest quote he uttered there was that gravity is a secondary effect of electromagnetism, and that just doesn't make any sense in modern science. I mean, you look at some of the evidence for it. Einstein's theory of gravity is a manifestation of curved space, and the evidence is all over the place. For example, gravitational time dilation makes sense only with a curved space. Doesn't make any sense in terms of a secondary effect of electromagnetism. Also, if you look at, it doesn't make any sense that you would go from electromagnetism to gravity. Electromagnetism is a dipole, right? There's positive and negative charges, and you could cancel them out. Gravity is not a dipole. Gravity's got one charge, mass energy. That's it. You can't block gravity. And if you look at gravitational radiation in terms of, like, say, gravitational waves, that's a quadrupole. So you're not going to be going from a dipole to like a static monopole or a gravity radiation that's a quadrupole. It doesn't make any sense. Now, Steve, you know they do try to have like grand unified theories, and a lot of the grand unified theories are strong force, weak force, electromagnetism. They don't include gravity because it's so fundamentally different from the other forces. It doesn't make any sense. And even if you did create a unified theory with all the forces, including gravity, even if you did do that, the idea though would be that say electromagnetism and gravity derive from some fundamental object, but that doesn't mean that gravity is reducible to electromagnetism.
Right.
So it makes no sense from that specific quote that he says. But Steve, you saw a longer take on him, and what did he say?
So that one claim is a sort of pulled out of his longer, interview. Right. He has a grand unified theory where he thinks all fundamental forces can be derived from one particle, the UON, the UON.
A particle?
Yeah. And
wait, is that a play off his last name?
I think so.
Wow.
Could be.
Now, I saw that interview was in 2017.
It's capital UON.
Yeah.
But not YU, but whatever. Like, if it matters.
That's 8 years ago. And I found literally zero references to it on the internet. So no one seems to know that this guy has unified all of physics, and you know what I mean? So he's a crank.
There is some information on him, just to give him some due.
Yeah, on him, but on his
theory.
Sure. I couldn't find a damn thing.
Yeah, he
8
is.
years later,
I know
he's not lighting up the physics world,
Right.
with his theories.
Apparently, he's a scientist and physicist at NASA Kennedy Space Center, holds a doctorate in engineering physics, and is pioneer researcher in theoretical and applied physics, and founder of the universal particle UON.
I mean, they're firing lots of people that work for the government. Like, why wouldn't they,
Yeah, why didn't they fire this guy? But what was interesting is that he was on Patrick Bet-David, but specifically to combat Terrence Howard, who we talked about previously.
Oh my God.
So this is like a whole level of, like, he was the expert brought on to try to talk sense to Terrence Howard, which is like, at that point, it's impossible.
So whipping you was brought on to talk sense into this guy.
Well, yeah, which is like, maybe some of the stuff he said, and he did push back. I watched some of this. He's like, no, what Terrence is saying of the energy states of an atom and an electron is the same as the orbital, like, location of planets, and they can rapidly shift to a new orbit like an electron, is what Terrence's claim is, and Wei-Ping's like, that just doesn't happen. It's not how anything works.
That's crazy.
So even he, Wei-Ping has maybe some
his area of
questionable
expertise.
things.
I'm sure. Just don't stray out of your expertise, please.
Yeah, and Terrence is, he's been off the whatever for a while.
He's got mental health issues.
Yeah, he's been doing something. Also, he's not getting a lot of acting roles. I think he's upset. He was no longer an Iron Man after he kind of like flew off the handle. I think he was the first. What's Iron Man's guy? The guy who's also
War
in the
Machine?
suit. War Machine.
Yeah.
He was in the first one. And then he got replaced.
Yeah, he was good in that movie.
He was good. I thought he was good.
But yeah, he did. He kind of went cuckoo, and they replaced him.
Cocoa Puffs.
Hey, but, making these movies, they're hundreds of millions of dollars. They're not going to be hiring people that are going to be a problem.
Yeah. All right. So why don't we move on to fruits that you cannot mix?
And then after
that, it will be time.
This interviewer in this video, it's just like, it just accepts it. I didn't know that.
Let's try it. Let's see what we got here.
Yeah, so here, let me pull this one up and flip it for you guys so you can see it. And
You can't even mix different fruits.
Oops.
If you take a banana and you mix it with a blueberry in a smoothie, it voids the nutrients of that
No
blueberry.
way.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
Because
that.
where did people ever live where tropical fruit grew in the same place as bush fruit? Or apples grew with pineapples? Doesn't happen. So these fruits were not meant to be combined. So just think about that. I'm giving you the example, not to tell you specifically about bananas and blueberries, but just to start thinking about where do you live, what's natural and
Love this
local,
music.
and how does that help fortify your body for that local jurisdiction? And we start doing that and
Jurisdiction.
That's interesting. So try to eat as seasonally as possible.
Seasonally and local. From water to
Well, how
food
about
to everything.
How about a plate of
Local
food? You
water.
got meat, you got vegetable, rice, and then you're mixing. You're eating them all basically at the same time. So do those nutrients void each other as well when they mix? in
How
your
does
stomach?
that work?
Yeah,
I mean, he doesn't have the answer.
That's-
He
The
doesn't
vitamin
know.
A in the banana is voiding the whatever the
I mean,
vitamin
we've
B
entered a
in the-
reality,
in the
guys.
blueberries.
We've entered a reality
Vitamin A plus C.
where you could literally just sit there, come up with some bullshit, speak with a little bit of authoritative
Play some
vibe,
music behind it.
play some
Have
creepy
somebody
music.
interviewing you. Go, really? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
I mean, that's reality.
Do you remember Sliders?
I love sliders.
I want to go to that damn universe in the show Sliders where science was king. The people that were the celebrities that were lionized and loved by everybody were people who were smart. And people
Intellectuals.
they were kind of athletic but also extremely smart. I mean, that's the world I want to go to. I want out of this,
what
this
happened
town.
at some point in our past? You know the Mandela effect?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, this is kind of related to
We
that.
shifted.
We shifted into the wrong timeline.
Yeah.
We were supposed to be in a timeline where I lived in Florence, Italy. You know what I mean? It's everything is wrong.
Like Ben
still
says,
could do that.
do the calories void out? Because that would be great.
Nice.
You just mix the right food together, it's suddenly calorie free.
I will say that like this account, Digital Social Hour, whatever, they post a lot of this wacky shit. So it's like it could be Poe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
All
like
of
they're
TikTok
just
could be one
rage.
giant Poe.
Right.
Probably.
They're just rage baiting to get whatever.
I think pose should be what? Illegalized? I mean,
Forget it, Bob.
Creating. I mean, you can't. Of course, you can't
Sent to
make
the
it illegal.
anotic.
But it's to me, it's just like it's so harmful because
Yeah.
that shit gets just spread around. Why would you keep doing that? We learned
For
that.
clicks, it's
we
all
learned
clickbait.
that in our first couple of years of doing skepticism that creating your own fake pseudoscience.
But they're not doing it as a way of showing like you can't believe stuff. They're just doing it to generate engagement.
Bob,
Yeah.
your confusion.
I know.
They're for money.
Your
Sorry.
confusion is coming from the fact that you ate a tree and a bush fruit today, and it's messing with your brain.
Yeah,
you
they're-
got to just stick with raw meat.
Right,
Okay?
it's raw
That's
meat.
true.
Yeah, but it's got to be grown here.
That's true.
But
Right.
we don't grow meat here.
Oh, so I do have a
except
raw meat
people.
one. We could do that, but
What you got to eat soy.
You gotta hunt deer in your own backyard.
Yeah, okay, there we go.
Olivia
yeah.
has an interesting
Bambi
one. I think they
burgers.
extrapolated from cucumbers enzyme catalyze, which can break down vitamin C to a point in certain conditions. I heard about it like 20 years ago. So there's probably like some in vitro.
There are
or whatever,
some
you know what I mean?
things that interfere with the absorption of other things. Right? Like
Yeah.
a lot of calcium interferes with something, I forget.
Oh,
but,
yeah, I know.
But come on, I mean these are usually only relevant if you have if you're taking a certain medication or
Iron absorption and calcium.
if you have certain very specific nutritional needs or conditions or whatever. But for most people, just eating food from around the world is the best thing that ever happened to us nutritionally.
Ian,
the fact that we can get all kinds of food on an all time,
Jay's freaking out.
any time of year that we can get. Vitamin C rich fruits from the tropics in
right.
January is a good
It's
thing
huge.
for our nutrition.
Hell yeah.
Ian, what about my picture?
Oh yes, sorry.
Wait, don't
No,
Ian.
go ahead, Jay. you
Before
can
we
talk.
click off the Poe thing,
Oh, sorry.
and we have two pictures to show. Remember, I texted you a picture.
Oh crap. Yes.
Okay. Well, while I'm
Oh,
talking,
crap, yeah.
so Ian, I
Yeah,
really want
oxalates
I
will
want to
kill you.
make a new TikTok account.
Oh god.
And I want to make it like a Poe account where we start doing this to see if it gets picked up anywhere or if it gets any legs.
No.
Yeah, come on, it'd be great.
No, not gonna happen.
I'll do it my own time.
No.
I'll name the channel Steve Novella Doesn't Like This.
You only sent me one image, right?
I texted you an image of us hiking.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure it was
Yeah,
just the one
hiking.
image.
Hiking. Well,
Hiking.
actually, that's not accurate. So we were out hiking.
Who's we?
You, me, Jocelyn, Courtney.
Oh yeah.
Olivia.
This is on
Do you
Sunday.
remember the name of the dog?
Yes. It was.
It was yes. The dog's name was yes.
It was
Chester or something like that.
something like that, but not
Yeah.
that. It wasn't Chester.
So we're out hiking, and Steve and I got recognized by a listener who came to
In the wild.
What event did they recently come to that they saw us
Quite
at?
literally in the wild.
I can't remember. The guy attended one of the recent events that we
Nauticon
had.
or something. Next.
The 1000th show?
No.
I don't remember. Anyway, him and his wife and their son were really freaking nice, and their dog was amazing. Like this dog, wait till you see the picture. I'm sure
Oh my
Ian's
goodness.
like working on that
I'm
right now.
working on it right now. It's a very cute dog. And there we go. Look
Can I
at
pet that dog?
Can I pet that dog?
Can I pet that dog?
Can I pet that dog? That meme is not the bear, by the way. It's there's actual. The original sound comes from a kid talking about a dog. Okay, anyway. So there's the dog. Boom. All right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it was fine. I just told him that we put the picture up of his dog.
Oh, okay.
There isn't a big story here.
Shout out that dog specifically.
He was an adorable dog.
We're going to talk about
good
the
dog.
dire wolves tonight on the podcast, which will come out on Saturday. But the precursor is, I mean, the bottom line is, they made modifications to a what, Steve? What was the
They
animal?
took a gray wolf.
They took a
and
gray
they
wolf.
made 20 genetic modifications to 14 genes based upon information they had from dire wolf DNA sourced from 2 different sources, and that's it. So it's a genetically modified wolf to be more like a dire wolf.
It's a hybrid.
It's
Yeah.
so it's
hybrid.
a genetically engineered hybrid.
But it's not a dire wolf.
It's dire wolf-ish.
Yeah, sure, but it's not
Yeah.
a dire wolf.
So how many genes would they have to do before you would say, okay, it's a dire wolf?
Well, that's on a need-to-know basis.
Yeah.
Whoops. Whoa.
Hey, yo.
Whoa, that was
careful.
Who was that? Which guy? Which rocket just crashed?
Not Jay. Bob, do you want me to show this image, or you want to precursor it?
Yeah, Steve.
Preamble it.
This is just like a teaser for my SG University
Mm-hmm.
thing. It's going to show like basically one modified
All
skeleton.
right, go right ahead.
All right, so for SG University, my segment is called "How to Up Your Skeleton Game." How to turn a plain skeleton into an awesome skeleton.
This is at Nauticon 2025
Yes,
coming up.
at Nauticon.
2025.
So you're going to see stage 1. This is a very simple upgrade to a plain skeleton. You could throw it up there, Ian.
There we go.
So the skeleton on the left is store-bought, and the one to the right, I just quickly and easily made it darker so it looks like more like a skeleton that you just dug up from your backyard. The hat is optional. I was toying with the idea of the hat, and it may not work out, but it is a goofy hat that I made. That is a Easter bonnet that I made for a family competition of Easter bonnets, 5 years ago? Of course I won.
Now, Bob, if those skeletons weren't standing there holding that wall up, I mean, what would happen?
Well, the whole garage would come crashing down. I love the jaunty stance of the brown one. See how his legs kind of like...
Oh, are they freestanding?
Hip
Yeah.
dysplasia.
Well, they're leaning against that foam board. But those are actually fairly decent skeletons. The hips actually have are ball
lie.
joints, which you don't see very often in skeletons. But now, if you come to Nauticon and you watch me when I do the my SG University segment, I'm going to have at least 2 more other skeletons on the right that have been augmented beyond what you see here. So it's not going to be just a simple brown paint. It's going to be much more dramatic and interesting and creepy. So I'm looking forward to that segment, and I'm looking forward to creating those other 2 skeletons. So
When I see
there's
these
your
two
little teaser.
skeletons together, you know what it makes me think of?
What?
You've got to get the hell out of here.
Oh man, what a
Now,
great
my
movie.
talk is going to be called, you ready?
Oh boy,
We're giving it
wait.
away. All right. For free?
Pishing and Jizz. That is the name of my talk. Anybody in the chat have an idea what that is about?
Don't be.
Either you know it or you don't. It's kind
Either
of
you know it or you don't.
Or if you know
it or
Steve
don't.
enough, you could figure it out.
Wow.
We have
Think
to
about
wait
it.
because there's a delay.
There's a delay.
There's a little bit
There's
of a
no
delay.
delay.
Yes, there's just.
I can't wait for the
I'll
delay.
put some hold
It's
music
like my
on.
comments. Nobody cares.
Hold music. All right.
All right, nobody
That's right. We
knows.
don't have to wait.
All right. Okay. No hold music. All right. Fine.
But it's going to be exciting.
It's gonna be somebody's gonna be excited. Everybody there will be excited. All right. Let's look at what we have.
The actual boys.
Don't mix fruit. Mercury rising. We did it. Gravity is magnetic. Coal. We did it. So
Oh,
it's time for
Yeah.
Will It Bread?
That's my favorite segment.
I love
Wait,
bread.
why is Jay going? Why is Jay
Why
leaving?
is Jay leaving this
What's
time?
happening?
Oh my God! It's an upset.
It's a Jay week.
It's a Jay week.
It's
Look
a Jay
at this.
Will It Bread week.
Bread.
I brought the knife. Cut it.
Move that rocket, please.
All right, I'll
knock
stop
it
with
over
that.
again.
All right, here we go. Will it bread?
So I made this
Boom.
morning. I got up at dark 30.
Oh, dark 30, he says.
Made
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Hey,
loaf.
yo.
My
So this is your
God.
standard rustic loaf that I've had a dozen times.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. So this is a sourdough loaf.
I bring that mic a little close to Steve, but well, okay.
Did you
whatever,
guys
sorry.
know that sourdough bread goes all the way back to the Egyptians?
Does it? Well, I walk like it.
I know you like that piece, Bob. I'll split it with you.
You can have it,
Yeah,
Jay.
I like the butt of the bread too. That's a good piece.
So bottom line is, sourdough bread
Olive oil,
has
too,
been
look at
with humans a very, very long time, thousands of years.
Thank you, Jay.
Essentially, it's
Good shit.
It's comes from wild yeast. Wild yeast exists basically everywhere.
Everywhere.
It's everywhere. The wild yeast particles are everywhere in everything that humans interact with. So flour, when you buy flour, any kind of commercial bought flour, it has wild yeast in it, and you could make your own starter with it, your sourdough starter. What that basically is you are cultivating a yeast colony.
Oh, man.
So there's, you can feed it once or twice a day, meaning that you throw away 2/3 of it, and then you add water and flour, and you just keep that in rotation. And if you do that with store-bought flour, eventually what will happen is you will start to see it bubble and expand in size. And then, between 1 and 2 weeks, you'll have a real starter going.
So someone asked, would the only alternative to sourdough be flatbread? No, because if you use
Bring the mic
yeast-
closer to you.
If you just use like the store-bought yeast, that's not a sourdough, because you're not getting all the other components to the starter that makes it sour. You're just adding yeast at the final step, and sometimes you do that too, right? Even if you're using a sourdough starter, you may want to add a little bit of extra yeast at the end. But also, you can use baking soda and other things to make the bread rise. That wouldn't be a sourdough. So no, not all bread that rises is a sourdough.
The yeast that you would buy in a store, if you, I'll give you guys a little bit more information. So why do we use starters? Starters are called pre-fermentation, right? So, 16 hours, 18 hours before I'm going to use my starter. I feed it and I get it to the size that I need, meaning, how much of it do I need? Is that too salty, guys?
No.
Yeah, there's garlic in there. So why do we do that? Why wouldn't we just, put yeast in at the moment we're creating the dough, and within hours we'll be baking the bread? That's because as the yeast is eating the dough and water that it's mixed in, and there's also bacteria in there as well and enzymes, it's actually creating a flavor profile that ends up going into the bread that you're going to make with the starter. So that's why you do it. And you want it to cook in there. Cook meaning, you want the yeast to have plenty of time to release alcohol and release CO2 and do all the chemical changes that are going to happen, because it is the flavor. So if, for example, you taste a bread that has some sourness to it, legitimately, like this bread doesn't really have a sour profile to it, but there are sourdoughs, or like a really heavy rye bread or whatever, there's a little bit of a sour note there. That is because the yeast is giving that flavor profile. Now, you would not get that same exact flavor profile if you just used the store-bought yeast and mix it in right away. It just won't have that tang to it that sourdough has, which people love. It's a very, very pleasant flavor. Different types of yeast exist all over the world, and they could be very regional. So there is a yeast that exists in San Francisco that is very hard to keep growing in other parts of the United States or the world, because you need the specific environment that it thrives in. But there are tons and tons of different starters that exist around the world, and you could buy them. You can get one. You can mail order it and get that starter and use it. I'm not 100% sure how true this is, but there are people that are saying is if you bring a foreign yeast into, like, let's say I bought something from Italy and I brought it to the United States. I bought a piece of somebody's starter over there. It'll slowly revert to whatever the local starter is.
Yeah.
Or whatever the
We were
local
talking
yeast
about
is.
that last
I don't know
week.
how true
Really?
that is. Yeah.
It makes sense, though.
It does kind of make sense.
Well, how does it get contaminated?
Oh, Bob, every time
in
you
the
open
air.
it, that yeast right now, you're breathing in the local yeast, the local wild yeast right now. So,
I gotta say that bread is crazy good.
what's that?
It's really good.
Thank
It's
you.
really
I like
good.
it a lot.
What's good? Jay's been tweaking this bread
Yeah.
I mean,
for a
it's-
while. What's good is that it's flavorful enough that you could eat it by itself,
Yeah.
but it's also a good substrate for pretty much anything you want to eat bread with.
Yeah, that
Right.
oil
I mean,
is
this
really
goes
good.
great
The
with
oil-
Steve's salad. It goes great with
goes great-
pastas.
Goes good with hummus. Goes good with.
It's
pasta,
great for dunking in
pretty much anything.
spaghetti sauce.
Oh,
Yes.
Imagine
God.
that shit.
hell yeah.
Now, as you guys know, that when
Probably.
commercial yeast came out, it really, like sourdough breads and all that took a massive hit because people were using the novel, available yeast, and
Yeah.
it had a resurgence in like the 70s, I think, is when it started to come back. And the artisan, I hate the word. Basically, if you understand what the word artisan means, it means a small batch, right? It doesn't mean that this dude is like, they use it like it means like this guy's got this local thing that he's doing that nobody else in the world can do, and it's super special, and you could only get, no, it means you're making 1, 2, 5, 10 loaves. You're not making thousands of loaves. All right. So bottom line is, a big help to the sourdough community was the pandemic because people started baking, and sourdough is now off the chart. I mean, everybody's making sourdough. It's hugely popular. Companies that produce products that in the sourdough world, the bread making world, are they're doing great. Well, they are now. They might not be in a few weeks from now, but I love this recipe.
Yeah, it's a really good recipe. I need to steal it from you. That we should hopefully we'll get that starter from the person who said it's 100 years old.
Yeah, I'd love to try that.
That would be really fun to try.
And bread was there, and bread made it possible for people in the area of Egypt to stop being nomadic. They had the wheat crop, and they knew how to they've cultivated it, and they knew how to grow it, and the idea of making bread out of that wheat meant that they had a constant source of food. And when you're living in a version of the world where food is the number one commodity, if you have a constant source of food, you don't need to keep moving around. Seasons don't mean anything at that point. And that's where basically civilization started, and bread was part of the reason.
Imagine though being the first, like going back 12, 13, 14,000 years, like just making that transition to agriculture. We had nothing. It was grass. Like they didn't really have everything we eat has been genetically modified off the hook, right? I mean, so that's barely recognizable. They were basically eating barely edible food.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh boy, I gotta stop.
Have you ever cooked, Jay, with baking soda?
No, I don't. I just use my starter.
Yeah.
Now, I'll say something else. If you take the store-bought yeast and you use it as a pre-ferment, meaning, say 16 hours before I'm going to bake, I take a pinch of store-bought yeast and I mix it with the appropriate amount of flour and water, and I let it do its thing. It's still yeast, and it's still going to do its thing. It's still going to give off all of the things that any other yeast will give off: alcohol, CO2, and you have the enzyme action going on. I've done this, and I've side by side used my sourdough starter and the store-bought yeast, and they both were in the works for 16 hours, and I'm telling you, man, the two loaves tasted almost identical.
Yeah.
How much does the flour matter?
It matters a lot. I use King Arthur because
Hell yeah.
King
That's the
Arthur.
one.
it's an employee-owned company, like a baking company.
Peter says you definitely need flour. Thanks,
My
Peter.
baking really took off when I started using flour.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah.
Game changer.
Yeah.
So
what were
the,
people
the,
doing
the
before
concept
that?
here is that Bob, flour. The differences in flour is tremendous. Like if you go to Europe, there's all sorts of different.
There's different
flours.
cultivars of wheat.
Yeah.
First of all.
Yes, and they
like
have
the
different
wheat
flavors.
that you use to make pasta is different than the wheat that you use to make bread.
Yep. But
versus the wheat that you use to
semolina.
make bulgur.
Versus
Like
durum.
where you basically use the wheat not pulverized into flour, but just like whole kernels.
this whole thing is all chemistry, right? So you have living creatures, the yeast, that are giving off the things that they give off, and there's differences between one type of yeast and another. It might be minuscule, you might have a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that changes the flavor profile. But then when you get into flour, changes in flour, you can use, everything could be identical between loaf A and loaf B. I just simply use a different, cultivar of a wheat.
And it's easy to imagine how they accidentally hit upon this, because if you leave the flour out, it'll happen automatically.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they first figured it out, like, wait a second, there is something going on here. They didn't understand microbiology back then. They didn't really know, but they learned everything that we know today about it that's important to make awesome bread.
Yeah.
Without
Can
understanding.
you imagine the first bread eaters? It's like, this is brand new. You're an adult. You haven't had bread in 35 years, and then you eat bread. Never even heard about it, and there's bread.
Yep.
What?
Olivia says SGU food tour of Europe. When? Yeah.
Oh God,
it's happening.
Olivia, trust me when I tell you that's where this is all headed.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm
that
like,
would be
We should go on a 3-year tour.
Yeah.
Come
A
back,
3-year tour.
just in time to vote for the next.
We'll use Florence as our home base. Just bing, 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 bing,
bing,
bing.
bong, bing.
I'm there,
Insanity
man.
says I should switch to flour from sawdust. Won't the nutrients cancel out?
That's not completely untrue.
Right, they did use
That when like in the 1700s and 1800s, like there was a lot of regulation about like how much flour is being used in wheat. Like you can only use a certain amount of fillers. But they, when times were rough and they couldn't get flour, they would use other stuff. They would just use whatever they could find that could kind of pass as flour, and chalk and just crazy shit. Anything.
Sawdust,
Sawdust,
popular.
chalk. They would just put anything in there to fill. Like, let's say you had
Fillers, though.
a pound of flour, but you typically need
5
4
pounds.
pounds or
Okay.
whatever, right? They would just they'd try whatever they could, and they'd get in trouble. Like there was the law would come down on people that would fake it.
They cut it like with Coke.
Yep. And then the amount
baking soda.
the amount of what you get, like if you go to buy a certain amount of bread, like they needed to be a certain weight. That's where a baker's dozen came in, like just to make sure that they're not shortchanging the customer. They'd give a little bit extra just to make sure that they're getting like what they're paying
They
for.
get fined if they were average weight was under.
And bakers would have like a hot metal stamp that they would stamp their bread with so they could be identified. Because some bakers are better than others, or they're more trustworthy than others. I mean, it's a wonderful history. There's so much to read about. It was all happening like basically at the same time around the world. Different bread. All these different breads exist all around the world. Everybody has their own version of bread and what they do.
Yeah.
You could be even inside of a country. There could be massive variations in bread types. Like I've said this before. Like Florence doesn't put sugar in their
Salt.
Sorry, they don't put salt in their bread. And when you don't put salt in bread, it tastes very flat and plain. It's flavorless.
That's pretty much true of all food. You don't put salt in the food.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing how much. I mean, that's why salt was such a huge, commodity.
Preservative and
Didn't
flavor
somebody
enhancer.
I haven't read it, but didn't somebody write a book just on like the history of
called salt, yeah.
just salt.
So Steve,
it's critical to our civilization.
If you mix salt in certain fruits,
Yeah.
the salt can cancel out
the nutrients.
the nutrients in the fruits. Yeah, it's crazy. I hate that.
You're canceling out your mic with the position of it. Bring that over.
So bottom line is, guys,
Hello.
I can share this recipe if anybody's interested.
Yes, we'll share it in the Discord. Maybe that would be good.
I've spent over 3 years
protecting.
protecting this. Nobody can
He's
have
been
it.
putting tariffs on all other bread.
I've been perfecting this. I used this loaf as my starter loaf to learn how to bake and everything, and I the quality has gone up since I've started to understand. Being able to read dough as an example, looking at a hunk of dough that you're eventually going to bake, when do you put it in the oven? Well, there's a lot to that, and it takes time, and you got to, trial and error.
What do you put on top of the loaf before you bake it? You put water on?
No. I bake these in a bread pan. You could also use a Dutch oven if you want to. I have a really nice bread pan that I use. What happens is that this is a high hydration loaf, right? So killing two birds with one stone. In a lot of breads that people make, they want to introduce steam in the oven where they're baking it. Now, if you buy a high-end oven, it literally produces its own steam, and you could just press a button and blast steam at the bread. And the reason why you want that is because it helps make this wonderful crust. Because when you see this browning on bread, it's the caramelization of the sugars. What's happening is the complex sugars break down into a more base sugar, and then they caramelize.
Nice.
And that's where that color comes from. I also put
thank you, sugar.
Diastatic powder in here that gives it a nice, richer color as well.
All right.
Someone asked if you're going to bring any to Nauticon.
It's unlikely, and I'll tell you why. First of all, like this loaf, even if I put this in the refrigerator or the freezer, it loses a lot of its good quality. Now, I always have a frozen loaf in my freezer, and I bust it out, and I know exactly how to reconstitute it. I put it in the microwave on defrost for a little while, then I crisp it up in the oven for a little bit, and I've gotten good at it. But it never comes back to what this is. This was just baked. I pulled this out of the oven about 3 hours ago. This thing is cranked up to 10 right now. It's awesome.
Yeah. All right. What about next week?
Yeah, I mean...
So, Bob, do you want to do next week? I have an idea for something. It's not really bread, but it's breadish. But you can do your pumpernickel, right? You want to do that? Or what are you going to do, rye?
Nope.
Oh,
He's doing
secret?
focaccia.
Oh, focaccia. You're right.
And then after that, Ian, you can go, and then I'll do my pumpernickel loaf.
Yeah, either way. We can figure out whatever.
And then I can get into stuffed breads.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
We're getting crazy.
That's exactly what everybody says, Bob.
We're going to get rid of the TikTok ideas and just do bread.
Just do bread.
Bread talk.
To this day,
Ian, another segment that we have to have every week you have to bring us something new off of your 3D printer.
Okay. All right.
Maybe not every week. Maybe not every week.
All right. Yeah, we could do that as like things that maybe we'll make for merchandising. Merchandising.
My Nomad figure needs an antenna. I lost the antenna, so I'll have to find.
If you can sketch it up or measure it, I can probably design it in CAD.
I'll take this back. You want
no, you take that.
Okay.
Yeah, the diameter is very specific, obviously, because it fits in the hole at the top of the Nomad's head. I'll have to try to measure that. But yeah, all right.
Would love a deep dive into fluoride. That sounds like a pun. How it prevents cavities and what we know. Yeah, we talked about fluoride last week.
We've talked about it.
There's also stuff on science-based medicine, probably.
Yeah, there definitely is stuff on
science-basedmedicine.org.
Skeptics Guide to the Kitchen.
I eat that shit.
So, yeah. 3D printed bread.
I put mustard on it. The fluoride is become the next big bad for the conservative party here. Like, they hate trans people and they hate fluoride.
They're just looking for culture wars to keep people angry and keep them distracted from the fact they don't know what they're doing.
I know. Yeah, like Fox News went on a tear about trans people.
Of course, they have nothing better to do.
Did not mention what is happening to the stock market.
Yeah.
Didn't mention it.
Right.
Because ignoring
that was a
things
big
means it's not
distraction
happening.
from what was happening.
I heard last week that for the first time in like years, whatever, that Fox News removed the stock ticker from their display. They just the first time in many years.
I mean, talk about a scam. Everything about that. Anyway.
Speaking of anyway, go to theskepticsguide.org. Under About is recipes, and maybe I'll put the bread one there. Oh, there is a rustic Polish, but I don't know if who made that. That was from 2023.
Is my Caesar salad recipe there?
Yeah,
that's it. That's it, Ian.
Yeah, so there's Jay's meatball and sauce. There's the rustic bread. George's meatballs and sauce. Kara's cucumber. I don't know where Steve's salad. We deleted it.
What?
Oh my God.
I
should put it
tweaking it.
I update that bread
under.
I update that recipe pretty often. I'm constantly like tweaking the quality of the what I got in there. Yeah, that sauce recipe and meatball recipe will knock you out. That's good. You make this bread and that's
my meatballs better.
One hell of a dinner. One hell of a dinner.
We should put Dad's recipe on.
Yeah.
We found that video.
Oh, we got it. That's another thing. Well, yeah, that's a secret.
Send me that video. I want to duplicate that.
Yeah, we're gonna.
I mean, it's on.
That's what I do. That's my recipe. Is Dad's recipe. But
I've got it on a
Yeah, I
little
love that meatball
camcorder. It's a
Yeah.
camcorder
Yeah.
videotape, so I need a machine.
Yeah.
Ian might have it.
I mean, I don't even remember the last time you made that, Steve.
Yeah, I don't make it that often.
Well, make it.
Yeah.
Give me that sword.
All right.
Make it so.
Let me see that sword.
Make it so. But we didn't do the most important part, which is where are we going to rank this bread? I think
This
this
is up there.
It didn't say. I think that we put the B for the Japanese bread, right?
Yeah.
So then where is this one? I mean, I personally think it's
Yeah.
maybe a tier
Yeah.
above the brown bread. It's like W tier.
No, I put it at the top row.
Put the top for
Yeah,
sure.
I think it's top tier. That's like
Wait,
in terms of sourdough,
I need
delicious.
one more data point.
Oh yeah, I need a data point without oil.
One more data point.
So Trump paused his tariffs.
No, I think he was. I think that guy was.
Yeah, push hard at the bottom, Bob. Just use the tip.
What the hell, man?
The bottom, take if they're really working.
Maybe flip it upside down. Are you supposed to flip it upside down?
Yeah, I mean, yes. There's you
go,
put
bro.
it on side. You know.
Trump announces pause. Lowers tariff for most countries, raises them on China.
China.
Too bad China's the manufacturing hub of the world, but you know, whatever. Ian, you need ad block? I know. I'm sorry.
Oh, so good.
I used to have ad block on this.
Bob.
The oil is really good, I will say, but
Oh
the
my
bread
God,
by
yeah.
itself is
That's
quite
just
good.
so-
Ian,
Fine.
Ian, here it is.
Huh?
Extra virgin olive oil, Parmesan, salt. If you're going to use fresh garlic, you only
No.
want to put a couple of slices in
Wait,
there.
Parmigiano or Parmesan?
It's like the lower level Parmesan.
Yeah, okay.
And then I put in some red pepper flakes.
I like that. No black pepper? No
No,
salt?
I would and salt. Yeah,
Okay.
black pepper's fine. I just think the red pepper gives it a little bit of a
Yeah,
zing
yeah,
that
yeah.
isn't usually there. This sword is really nice.
Did you ever put cayenne pepper in?
Cayenne pepper. No, I haven't done that.
Cayenne
Red
pepper.
Pepper Restaurant.
Cayenne's really tasty, but you got to use a
Tiny bit.
Yeah.
It'll knock you out.
tiny
Knock
amount of it.
you out.
And it's noticeable.
Mama
It's
gonna
tiny?
knock you
Oh my
out.
God.
It's that powerful.
You can't ever put it directly in the dish. You got to put it in your hand, you know, and then
And
don't.
por-
But don't.
portion
You
it
can't
out.
like shake it into the dish, or you don't know like exactly.
Will it katana?
how
yeah,
was
I
it-
don't think we're gonna do that.
What's the flavor?
We want to
like?
stay on.
It's. I
YouTube.
mean, it's hot, but it's got its own flavor that's really good.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
It's good stuff.
All right.
People wanted to store their own blood for procedures that need transfusions.
Yeah, they do that.
Yeah. That's,
So yeah.
That's a thing. It's been a thing for a long time. Pre banking your blood. It's all about you know. Ideally, you don't want to get any, get through the surgery without having to use somebody else's blood, just to reduce risks. You know.
Yeah.
You also recycle blood. You know that.
Uh-huh.
When that they're sucking up the blood, as they're cutting into you, that blood gets recycled and put back into you.
Oh, this person is saying they specifically didn't want it because of the COVID vaccination blood.
Oh.
So okay,
Yeah, they
that's
put a little
another
cayenne
level
pepper
of
in the
dumb.
blood to kill the
Oh.
bacteria, and you're good to go.
Like a cleaning.
Yeah.
Like some sort of, you take the blood, put it, all right.
They
Enough of
drink
that.
the blood.
So what do we got? So we got some TikToks we can get to, which is some crazy nonsense, of
All right,
course.
Bob, you and I are going to scoot.
all right.
Let's let's look at the market one more time. Let's see how's the market doing. Let me refresh real quick. Boom. Oh wait, this is a 6-month period. Let's look at the day. Oh, green. Hey, those tariffs changes apparently shot up. It's green now. Everyone's happy. Plus 13%. See you later. Boom.
Thank you.
All right, let's. We're gonna get set up for the tickety talks, everybody. So here's a little hold music. Okay. Yeah. Should I print more of them? Should I print more of them, or we're gonna adjust?
Let's.
Okay. All right, we'll talk. All right, here we go. TikTok, picture in picture. Stand by, everybody. Good. Oh wait, there's one more chair. The one in the corner. Who threw that chair over there? How dare they? What? Almost. There we go. All right, now we're good. All right. Well, thank you for bearing with us, everybody, while we were setting up for the TikToks. We'll get into some of this. This fucking this fucking guy. Wednesday. Let me space that one out. Okay. Got that going. Hopefully it's not too loud. Day traders are getting euphoric and depressed like 20 times per day. Yeah, it's not good for their hearts, I would assume. Or whatever. Who cares? All right, let's see what goes on here. Stand by.
Captured heaven in an image.
Pay attention and listen, because NASA found heaven using the Hubble telescope. Look.
Hey, the Hubble telescope launched back in 1990. 4 years later, 1994, we get that image right there. Okay, shot back down to Earth from the Hubble telescope. Now, what did NASA do? Of course, they tried to hide it, but it didn't work. Now, by the way, that picture right there, my uncle gave me that picture. It was taken by a photographer at Ellington Airfield of the Hubble telescope. You guys know my uncle worked at NASA, and he told me that NASA, does in fact try to hide images and anomalies from the public. Okay, I just wanted to include that little tidbit of information in my video today.
That's probably enough, right? Yeah, I'll probably cut that down. In fact, hold on. Stand by. Let me fix the TikTok camera.
I'm looking at this one right here.
You're looking. Yes, you should be. Yep, that one. All right, we're rolling.
No, this did not happen. We could just think about it for a minute. So if NASA, the Hubble Space Telescope, took a picture of something incredibly anomalous, that would be pretty exciting, and then that would get a lot of news. There's no way they could keep it hidden. Plus, also, if you see that picture, would a NASA scientist looking at that go, that's got to be heaven. We better hide this. Or would they think, that's weird, I don't know what that is, this is exciting, we better get some more telescopes on this and take more images and figure out what it is. But of course, this whole thing is fake. None of this is real. That is not a picture that was taken by the Hubble telescope. That is a drawing that was done by an artist, Ron Miller, that was then used to create a fake image as if it was taken from a telescope. And it was, as far as we could tell, it surfaced originally in 2009 in the Weekly World News. You guys remember the Weekly World News? Pretty much the worst of the rag tabloids. This is Bat Boy fame level that we're talking about. That's where it comes from. This didn't come from NASA, didn't come from the Hubble. It was just a fake tabloid news story that now is seeing a second life on TikTok, because that's one of the things that TikTok does, take debunked crap that was fake 20 years ago or whatever and recycle it so that people can gullibly, point to it and believe that it's real. But no, this isn't real. That's not how NASA operates, and this is all just complete nonsense.
All righty. That's easy.
That's easy.
That's easy.
The Weekly World fucking News.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's old school.
That's old school.
It's like I Married an Axe Murderer.
Yeah.
What the mother was reading or whatever. I can't remember. Okay, so we'll move on to $35 trillion.
It's all numbers.
It's all just numbers. Numbers are a myth.
It's all numbers on a page.
Okay, let me full screen. Oh, hold on. Set up, full screen it. All right, here we go.
There is no $35 trillion. Not only are we not in $35 trillion of debt, there's no $35 trillion at all. It doesn't exist. That's not a real number. That's not a real amount of money. This whole system is not real. And I think that we're all playing along like it's a real thing. And that's...
Hey, hold on. Let me redo this because I was on the wrong scene. Here we go.
There is no $35 trillion. Not only are we not in $35 trillion of debt, there's no $35 trillion at all. It doesn't exist. That's not a real number. That's not a real amount of money. This whole system is not real. And I think that we're all playing along like it's a real thing, and that's good because that's how the economic system works. But just to reel it in real quick, it doesn't make any sense. The money we're spending isn't real. Like literally the cash as well as the number. No such thing as $35 trillion of debt. Doesn't exist. No such thing as like amount of US currency. We print it and make it up. Just for all of our followers, I hope we all can come to the agreement and consensus that we're operating on a system where the numbers are made up and everything's for fun.
I don't know why that guy is so happy. He seems to be quite pleased with himself there. Don't listen to randos on TikTok about complex economic questions. Listen to economists. If you do even a little bit of research into this question, you could easily find lots of explanations for why what this person is saying is complete and utter bollocks. So yes, the debt is real. It is real in every sense that matters. The government can't, for example, say, well, if the government can print money, why don't they just print $35 trillion and pay off the debt with the money that they print? Because what would happen if they did that is there would be massive inflation. Massive inflation. You can't just increase the amount of money that's around without causing incredible inflation. And a lot of the debt, a lot of our expenditures are tied to inflation. So our expenditures would just, and our debt therefore would just increase with inflation. So that's not a way out of it, just printing money. So, and it's also real in that there are people who hold that debt. Ask somebody who has a treasury bond or something. It's like, well, that's not real. That money that you thought you had, that's based on the government borrowing money for its expenditures, isn't real. I think all of our foreign creditors would beg to differ. I think anybody who holds any kind of American bonds would beg to differ. That it's real in that people have that debt. They own that debt. That's part of the economic system. So what he's, at the end of the day, he's just saying that America's currency is a fiat currency. No joke. Everyone knows that. So it's not backed by gold anymore, which was not a good economic idea in any case. But just because a currency is a fiat currency doesn't mean it's not real. It is part of an economic system. Those numbers are not meaningless. Yes, at the end of the day, we all agree that money has value, but it is guaranteed in a lot of ways, and it is meaningful in a lot of ways. You can't just unilaterally decide that numbers don't mean anything and this debt isn't real or it doesn't exist. That is what makes absolutely no sense. So this guy needs to learn a little bit of economics 101. But there are a lot of people out there who just like this idea that, oh yeah, it's all fake and the government just is imposing this upon us. It's like, no, it's a mutually agreed upon system of kind of tracking economic exchanges. And, we agree that this is how the value of this currency works. And it's an elaborate system, but it's all real in every sense that matters. So this guy just doesn't know what he's talking about.
Oh boy. Debt. Negative numbers don't exist.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I think that's it because we did the other one.
Yeah, we did the other one all together. So
that's
fine.
It
was just the two. He could be president, and we could vote for him.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be an upgrade.
It's like saying votes aren't real.
Yeah.
It's like anything intangible is not
right.
real.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Constitution is not real.
Yeah.
I mean, what is it? It's just stuff
Right.
we all agree on.
My girlfriend's not real.
Well, that's a different story.
Oh, right.
That's different. Just because she's virtual doesn't mean she's not real.
Yeah. What are you trying to say, bro? All right. Well, everybody, thanks for joining us. Remember, if you see some stuff on, say some stuff. So if you see some stuff on TikTok, on Instagram, on anywhere else, YouTube's, any of the weird platforms and stuff, please send us a link. Helps us collate all these things. Or you can send it in the Discord. There's a new link submissions sub channel, I guess, or whatever, interest channel. I forget what they call it. But under live streams, you like hover over it, and then you can submit links. I usually grab from there. Some people aren't doing it. Music isn't real. She goes to another call. I know. Yeah. Can grand conspiracies exist in an authoritarian society? I mean, I guess if the authoritarians are enacting them, I don't know. And we definitely don't want to return to the gold standard. Yeah, there's no spoon. In the meantime, hey, Nauticon is coming up.
It's coming up.
It's coming up. Make sure you get your tickets. There's still more tickets. I think we're sold out of VIPs. We might have like just a few more. Every once in a while, somebody has to cancel. So like, just keep checking, and the VIPs will pop back up. And there may be an opportunity. There was actually an opportunity to get a few people into the board meeting because somebody had to cancel. So there were some openings. So keep checking it out. I'll try to make notifications in the Discord when that happens.
It's 5 weeks, right? It's coming up.
Yeah, it's coming up quick. I got to do a lot of work. So there's that. We'll maybe see you on Friday. I don't know what's happening this Friday, but please.
I never know what's happening on Friday.
Yeah.
I'm available.
Yeah, Steve's available. It's usually we're waiting for Jay to be like, okay, hey, Jay, with Steve retiring, do you plan on doing any international tours? We do actually have some. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually have 2 gigs. I'm working. The international gigs that one is booked. The other one is in negotiation, and then some local America, gigs. And we're going to Kansas.
Yep, that's true. That's coming up.
We're talking about. I don't want to say it. It's not nailed down yet. But there's another city that we're talking about going to. We're negotiating with an event that's happening.
Yeah. There's still some celestial event things that may happen for 2026.
Yeah, definitely there will be an increase in me traveling.
Yeah. So that will mean an increase in the SU.
Because my travel was limited by my day job.
Yeah.
And it will no longer be as of July 1st.
Yep, that's true. All right, everybody. Well, we'll see you. Come to Scotland. Oh, you'll be waiting. That sounds like a threat.
Scotland was awesome. We were there. We would like to go back to that. It was a great visit.
And not in a creepy way. Okay, all right. That's fine. Thank you.
Thanks for the clarification.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Ian.
Bye.